All right, I think we're good to go. We'll quickly review yesterday, what we did. Was it day 10? Yeah. So this is going to be day 11. But quickly, we'll just show what we did day 10. So show, hide, register, log in, log out, depending on if the user is logged in. So if we go to our front end, right now I believe we're signed in, and you'll notice that register and sign in, the links in the nav bar don't appear. But if we sign out, then they do appear. So yeah, so that's all we did, made them conditional. So whether or not a user was logged in, whether or not those components appear, or those links appear. And we did that with this code right here, this not user end-to-end and user end-to-end to conditionally render. And then we show navbar links to submissions. Okay, so we made a new link to submissions, and this component is rendered when this path is activated. And we have all our submissions being listed out, and then we have a form to enter a new submission. And I know last time I was majorly blocked with an error when I would try to submit from my front end a new submission. And just to show you once again, some CSS 23, some HTML. And when I click submit, let me clear the console. When I click submit, I was getting this weird 500 server error. And I totally couldn't figure it out why. I had to end the stream and just debug because I was just killing too much time. So I figured it out, but let me show you how I did it. I was a little thrown off because this is the first route where we're actually using authentication middleware. So we send this request, and just to remind you what this request looks like, in our submission form, here it is. Actually, let me show you first, maybe in Postman, what we're trying to do. So in submissions, we're sending a new submissions, and yeah, this is a find body, and we want to do a post to /submissions. So this is to our backend server. And when we send one, we actually, in this case, get duplicate key error because CSS has to be unique. So we can just manually make it unique by entering some gibberish. And then we get a nice new submission document. So let's change to our back end so I can show you what's going on there. So in our back end, if we look up the submissions router, here's where the back end is handling requests for submissions. And you can see here, I injected an auth middleware that we had created 5,000 days ago in day 2 or 3, I don't remember. And I totally forgot about it. But this auth middleware is being activated. And this auth middleware is expecting a token from the req headers authorization. And that's important right there. And this is where that error was being generated. So in Postman, it really spoils us. It automatically puts a req headers authorization. If we click in headers and right here, it automatically does this for us. But we don't have that luxury when we're doing the front end React client. So we have to do that code ourselves in the request, or it'll cause that error. Basically, it was trying to do .split on null. So to correct that, we go to our front end. Okay, yeah, our front end. And I want to now manually create an auth header. So I say a string, and I use the backticks because I want to do a string interpolation. I want to inject a variable. And then I put, and here's how I know what it should look like. I want to recreate this. Authorization bearer, and then a space, and then your token. So this is what I'm trying to recreate. So I put bearer, and then user.token. Yeah, and user is coming from, I'm grabbing it from our global context, and we have a property on there called token, which we store when we log in or we register. So I create this auth header, which is just a string, and then I have to put it in my headers. So it's this code right here, authorization auth header. And again, I'm just repeating what Postman did for us automatically. So now if I save this code, and where's our front end? Let's go back to it. And now I enter a new CSS. Click submit. It breaks. Cannot read property token of null. User.token. Oh, I know what this is. Okay, so I'm not signed in. So right now, there's no user. So you can't do user.token. So can I manually refresh this maybe? So I have to first log in, enter my email. This is just a random user that we've created at this point. Log in. So now I'm logged in. So now global context user exists. And I go to submissions again and enter whatever, doesn't matter. Submit. And now finally we get a submission and we console.log the submission out, but also it shows up in our list, because in our submissions form, right here actually. So after we submit this form, this is the server request, but then we actually fetch submissions, which causes our app to refresh its entire submissions from the server. So it's doing a GET request to submissions right after it submits a new submission. So that bug took me a while to figure out. So like I said, I don't want to do any styling on this project. I wanted to keep it super bare bones, just try to get into the main concepts of MERN without like distractions. And so it's super bare bones, and it's really not production ready at all. There's bugs and stuff. We saw a bug right now when we tried to submit and we weren't logged in, which maybe actually we could prevent. There's a way to prevent. Yeah, so you know what would be nice? If a user shouldn't even be able to click on submissions unless they're signed in. Or better yet, they shouldn't be able to see the form unless they're signed in. So an easy way I think we can do that is, here's where we're showing our form visibly. And if we look at our front end, I'm basically talking about this block of code. We want to basically only show this if a user is signed in. So to do that, we can wrap this in some curly braces, and we can use a conditional statement. So basically we want user to exist end, then the form to show up. And I think we already have user in the global context, so we should be good there. Let me save this. No errors, that's nice. Let's switch back to our browser. And so we're actually logged out right now. Oh, okay. So when we click home, we like fetch our local storage and then we re-sign ourselves in. So ignore that, but let's click log out and click submissions. And you see now no form is showing up. And we really want to get rid of that enter a new submission because that doesn't make sense visually. So where's a good place to put that? Can we just do that? And then we need a React fragment. So React is happy because it only wants one parent element. What's wrong with that? Oh, I put that in the wrong place, I believe. Move that up. Yep, save that. So now, nice. When we click on submissions, we only see the submissions. But if we're logged in, max@yahoo.com, 123. We're signed in and I click on submissions and now we have the option to enter a new submission. So that's nicer. That'll prevent that error. Okay. So it's still super ugly app. It's super bare bones. I'm sure there's a lot of tweaks you could do to make it better. Probably some bugs. But I promised that we would show deployment, so that's what we're going to do. But we handled submissions, we handled this objective, so now we want to actually deploy the server with Heroku. So it's been a few weeks since I've done this, so it might be kind of rusty, but we'll figure it out together. So let's go to Heroku.com. And this is free, so it's awesome. Whoops, I just want to log in. So there's some small amount of tweaks we have to do. We're gonna have to do to our backend application. So first, actually, we're gonna deploy the server. So that's our first objective, deploying the server on Heroku. So let me create a new project on Heroku, create a new app. And app name is CSS, what did I exactly call this? CSS art server. Create the app. And then I believe I want to do these things. Yeah. So I've already downloaded and installed the Heroku CLI. If you haven't, just follow that link. But I've already done that. So let me actually, I don't know if I should tweak this stuff first or try to follow these directions first and maybe get errors and fix them as we go. That might be kind of a good learning thing. So let's close this app. Oh, sorry, this is our front end. Totally wrong place. I'm going to close this. Or not close it. I'm going to go to our back end. I'm going to open up the terminal. I'm going to close it from running. I thought. Sometimes Control-C fails me. I have no idea why. So kill the terminal manually and then reopening it back up. And now let's see about these instructions. So Heroku login. Let's go ahead and try that. It opens a browser for us where we can log in. And that was easy. You can now close this page. Okay, so next step is we're already in our project. We want to get init. So we're creating a new, we're giving Git functionality to our application, so version control, but also the ability to push to like GitHub, or in this case, actually Heroku. Like you can think of Heroku as like GitHub. It's a repository, or it'll accept repositories. But instead of just storing them, it'll actually serve them, serve our server. And then we want to do git add. But before I do this, remember I talked about how there's some things that are not secure about this server we made. So let's go through and actually, because at this point we're going to send this code online and we want to make it secure. So right now I'm actually looking at something really not secure, not good. We have this right here, our secret token. So let me open up our file explorer, and we want to actually store all these things in a .env file. All our super secret passwords are going to go in a .env file, and this .env file is special. It's an npm package that we're going to install. Basically, it'll allow us to access, once we store it in .env, we can then access it from anywhere in our application. So we're gonna cut this out, and we're going to go to .env and call this JWT key, or JWT secret maybe, and set it equal to our string, but without any quotes. So no quotes when you're using .env. Now I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to go to app.js, because we have to install this .env package. And since it's the first time we're looking at a new package, I always like to go to the docs to show you guys. So it's called .env. So .env is a zero dependency module. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. I didn't know that. That loads environment variables from a .env file into process.env. Okay, so we did npm install .env, and now we just have to put this line of code to invoke it as early as possible in your app. And then here's a sample of how you store things in a .env file, and then how you access those things. So if you call something db_user equals root, you access it in other modules by process.env.dbhost. So we're going to do exactly that. We'll just put this as the first line because it says it wants it as early as possible. And sorry, let me turn on the terminal, make sure there's no errors. Oh, this isn't actually running, but yeah, let me actually run this. Node mon app. Okay, so there is an error. Can't find module.env. So the whole reason I shut down my terminal is to install this package. So that was kind of silly, but I always want to know if I have errors or not, every line of code I do. So let's install .env. Okay, let's rerun the app so we know we don't have servers, or we don't have errors. So no errors, so we're good. So now let's go back to so just again, we put this JWT secret in our .env file. Now I'm returning to authentication, and I should have access to this just by putting process.env.jwt secret. Hopefully, if everything works. And maybe to test that out, we can actually return to our front end real quick and see that nothing is broken. That might be nice, just to be super careful and methodical. All right, so we're signed in. That's good. Submissions. Submissions will cause that auth middleware, so we know we're good there. And then we submit, and it adds to a new form. So perfect. It's still working exactly the same. So it did access it. Authentication. And again, I'm in the wrong place. So authentication was able to access process.env because it still worked. So that's one tweak we have to do for deployment, but I'm pretty sure there's some more. So let's go to app.js and take a look. So yeah, this is the biggest one. See this? This is how we're connecting to our database in the cloud. And if I was to push this, my username and password would be accessible to anyone. So I definitely don't want to do that. I want to cut this and go to the .env file and call this MongoDB. I don't know if this is technically a URL, but I'll call it a URL. And I'll paste this in. Take out the quotes. And yeah, I guess that's fine. And then save this file, return to app.js. And now I want to do process.env. And of course I forgot what I called it. I think MongoDB URL. And save that and look at the console. DB connected, so there's no error messages, so that worked perfectly. So those are some security tweaks we have to do. There's going to be some other normal tweaks, but I think that's the only security tweak. So we can proceed from there. Yeah. But now the issue that I'm thinking about it is, you need to tell Heroku this stuff that you kept secret from everyone, basically, because we haven't done it, but actually we're gonna create a new file and say .gitignore, and we're gonna add we're gonna add node modules because we never need those to push anywhere, and we also want to ignore .env. Because we don't want to send our secrets to anyone. So I'm going to save that. But now the problem is when we push this to Heroku, all our code, how does Heroku know what our secrets are? Because it actually needs to know. So let's give that information to Heroku. And the way we do that is, I don't know if it's access, no. Settings. Yeah, so settings, and then reveal config variables. And now we have to add them here. So we have to say, we have to add these. So we need JWT secret And I don't believe we have to say like process.env. I think it'll inject those on its own. And then we have to give it the actual secret. And let's add that. And then we need to give it the MongoDB URL. And we have to actually give it the URL. And I see a slight error in this code right here that we'll fix. So you see after the slash, we have just DB name. We can just put the name of like, this is basically like what database do you want to call this? And I'm trying to think, what should we call this? It's probably just fine like CSS art. So we'll replace that name. We'll save it there. And we'll also save it. Did this rerun? Is this still good? And we'll also make that change here. So instead of DB name, I'll put the actual name of a DB I want to use. And if one doesn't exist, it'll create it. So it's not, it's flexible. So that should be good. Let me see that after I made these changes, this app is still running. So I want to go to app.js. And yeah, now I have MongoDB URL. So when I save this, okay, still worked. So we're still good. Okay, that was more security stuff and Heroku configuration. Now I think we're maybe good to push without revealing any really big security flaws. Those are the biggest ones, I'm pretty sure. And the rest are just kind of like little tweaks we have to do. So let's actually, I'm looking at one, there's right here, we're gonna have to change this, but I wanna actually show you there so that if you run into it, you remember. So let's go back to the deployment instructions. Was that under deploy? Yeah. So we logged in already. We initiated a Git repository. Now let's add the remote. So we have to tell our Git repository where to send, how to send this on Heroku. So we have to close this down again. And then I'm going to enter this command. Okay, awesome. And to verify that this worked, I think we can say get remote -v to see it. So this is actually a URL that it's going to fire off when we try to push to Heroku. Okay, so now actually we need to add all our files to our local Git, commit, and then push to Heroku. And then we should be good. I mean, we're not going to be good. There's going to be an error, but we'll see what we get. So let's add everything. But again, because we ignored .env, none of our secrets will be there, and node modules won't be there, because Heroku will go ahead and run npmi and reinstall all the node modules. So we don't have to do that. Oh, there's another tweak we're gonna have to do, but let's see if Heroku correctly will warn us. But there's a big one we still need to do. A couple of tweaks. So then we need to commit this. And I don't know what that A is. See this A here that I see sometimes? I don't know what that means. So it says all modified files in one line. And I still don't know what that means. Git commit A. What does it mean? I was hoping there'd be a Stack Overflow. I don't know, but I'll go ahead and use it because that's what Heroku says. So we're going to enter this command, git commit am, and then we'll just say initial commit. Okay, we should be good. And now we push it to Heroku, and the branch they're going to create for us is master. Press enter. There's going to be a few errors, but let's work through them. Okay, so it copied all the code and it created a URL for us, and we can click it and it'll hopefully give us some error messages. Oh, it even gave us a really nice domain. Look at that. CSS art server. That's awesome. Usually it's like beach, dolphin, 1, 2, 3, like it's nonsense words. So here we see application error. And I don't know if we inspect it, if we ever can see anything good. I don't think so. Yeah. But we can run this Heroku logs -- tail. So let's try that. Yeah, let's try that. So let's go to the very top to see what our first error is. Oh, that's cool. It's setting all our config variables. That looks nice. So here's our first one. npm error, missing script start. So one of the requirements when you're deploying is you have to, in your package.json, give it a start script. So here we can actually say, what do we want to do? We want to do node app.js, I believe. I'm gonna have a blank for a second, but I think that's what we want to do. So let's see if we can get rid of this first error. Or actually, no, better than that. Let's try to do a couple of them. So that's our first error. I'm going to save this. Okay, that's the only error. That's the only error, good error, actionable error right now. So let's save this and let's do the process over again. So now we have to save those changes locally, git add everything, git commit am. I'm just going to be lazy and say second. And then I'm going to push to Heroku again to replace our code. And then we'll check the errors again and just keep on going until we have no errors. So it's the same URL, so we can just refresh, I think, but it's not going to work. So we're going to run Heroku logs tail again. Whoa, it seems like even more errors. Wait, what's that? It's saying script start still not fine, but we have start now. Sorry, let me clear this terminal. Can I just clear? Can I do clear? Yeah. Okay, and let me try that again. Heroku logs tail. Maybe there's a better way to debug Heroku. So I'm trying to look at our errors. Okay, so here's a good one. Here's our first real error, I believe. So look, here it ran our node app.js because we put in that start script. Server is up, DB connected, the same messages we get locally. But then look at this. It says web process failed to bind to port. So here's the main tweak you have to do. We have to go to app.js, and instead of declaring a port manually, sorry, we have to put in process.env.port. Heroku is so dynamic, it doesn't know, it's like thousands of customers every second or whatever. So it doesn't know what port it's going to give you. So it has to decide right at that second. It could be 3 or it could be 3,000 or I don't know. I'm just making up numbers, but it changes all the time. So Heroku will decide for us what port. But if we're not running this in Heroku, process.env.port won't exist. So we want to put or 5,000 so we can run it locally. So let's save this and repeat the process. Commit this locally, or add this locally. Commit this locally. Third, hopefully this is the last one. Push this to Heroku. All right, it looks good. Well, it always looks good, that part. I believe it's the same URL. It looks like it's still not working, so we'll check. Oh, it worked. Look at that. So our server is now deployed here, and it's just live on the internet. Anyone can grab the information. So if we did like /submissions, we see all our submissions, which there's none right now. I think because we're using a new database. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm actually going to keep the front end deployment till next stream, because my dog is driving me insane in the background. If you can hear him, I apologize. So yeah, but let me check off on our README. We deployed our server with Heroku. All right. Thanks for watching. See you next time.